to another vlog with myself, as always, Alex Connor from Fearless Training. And today we're going to talk about meal plans. And we're going to talk about why meal plans are bad, why they're good, when can you implement them, and perhaps why you should stop relying on them. Okay, so once again, I've made a couple of notes because I want to make sure I address all the key points that have come to mind personally, and they're based on the most common questions that I get, and what I think are the main pros and the main cons, if you will. So the first thing I'm going to start with is rigidity. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so sometimes having a meal plan is good because it does give you a rigid template, if you like. It gives you some structure, gives you some accountability. Think about a meal plan as kind of like stabilizers on a bike. I use that analogy a lot, but it's really easy to understand because we can put the stabilizers on the bike and over time we want to be able to take them off. We don't want to ride with stabilizers the whole time because we're not really going to learn anything, and that's not a way that we can live sustainably. I mean, do you want to be on a meal plan the rest of your life? I certainly don't. Doesn't mean you can't have structure though. However, sometimes having a meal plan and having rigidity is good. For example, when you're in comp prep, if you need to hit your macros, you need to know exactly what you're putting in. This is a good time that you can actually have that meal prep and have something there that is going to be able to help you keep to your goals, keep to your caloric and macronutrient requirements in a way, again, that's conducive to your goal, but that you're also meeting all of your nutrient or micronutrient requirements as well, because obviously when you're in a dieting phase or a deficit or a elongated comp prep or a dieting phase, doing a comp prep, I should say, you want to make sure that you're choosing whole foods, nutrient dense foods, so you know your room for error is a lot smaller. Also, a good example of where you can implement a meal plan, or where I would implement a meal plan with a client, is based on where they're at in their education and their journey, bespoke to their lifestyle. So for example, if I have a client who really needs that support and they really don't have a lot of education around food or choice, technical difficulties. Okay, so where was I up to? Yes, someone who doesn't have a lot of education and they need a little bit more support. So for example, you might build them a meal plan, you might give them some structure based on foods that they like, and obviously eventually you want them to be able to start to pick and choose and build up variety and have that freedom and flexibility to start to choose good foods as well that align with their, again, nutritional preferences, but also their goals, their physique goals in and outside the gym. Now, the second thing about meal plans is if you're on a rigid meal plan, they don't create awareness. And what I mean by that is, so when we actually track food, so when generally I will take on a client and I'm working with them, I will start from wherever they are, knowledge-wise. And the first thing I get them to do is make me a food diary. And there's a couple of ways to do that. We can do that through MyFitnessPal or a tracking tool. We can do that via writing it down, or I'll generally tell them to take pictures of the food, depending on, again, what they've got access to and where their knowledge is at. Now, the reason why we do this is because first is they start to acknowledge what foods they're actually eating. And obviously, when they're being truthful, they start to realize that, oh, hey, perhaps I'm not eating a lot of food, or I'm eating too much food, or I'm not actually eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, or I'm eating a lot of processed food, or I'm going to a lot of fast food. So it starts to create an awareness when you get someone to track food, and that is the instigator and the start of actually learning and educating someone about nutrition and about making better choices. So it's not rocket science, but the hardest thing is getting people to actually track or to some degree just measure what they're putting in. Now, it's not completely necessary, but if we can measure it, we can manipulate it. So we see a whole lot of pushback on tracking, and when people want to track their nutrition, you know, they think, I don't want to track macros, I don't want to track calories. Now, yes, it's not completely necessary, but I would highly recommend that everyone at some point, if you have a specific physique goal, to actually track your calories, because it's not forever, but again, it's a tool. And when it's implemented correctly, it can be very useful. It can build great relationships with food, and it can get you to the desired goal a lot faster. And once you then walk away from it and know how to take that away slowly and get back to using, intuitive eating, quote unquote, and listening to your body, but also listening to the right cues and understanding what your body requires, it gives you that flexibility and freedom to kind of ad-live and go back and forth should you ever need to track again lightly, and then step out to obviously eating mindfully and going back to those hunger cues and listening to the body like we once did, but in an accurate and healthy, sustainable way. The third point I've got in here is magic foods and macros. So, for example, with meal plans, and I've done this myself in the past when I was in my younger days and I didn't really understand nutrition. I remember always going back to the meal plan or the foods I was eating when I got quote unquote lean or when I was in better condition. And I was like, oh yeah, if I eat these foods at this time of day in this order in these quantities, that's what's going to get me X result. And that is not necessarily the case. It was more the science behind that, like perhaps those foods at that point in time for my daily energy expenditure and for my current body mass, etc., and my goals, that is what worked. But the goalposts are always moving. Because generally as we age, our metabolic rate slows down, generally our lifestyle changes, we might become more sedentary, we might become more active, etc. We might lose muscle mass, we might train less. So there's all of these variables to consider. So again, it creates this whole anxiety and these relationships again, and these what can I call it? There's a word I'm trying to think of. These almost those fears and misconceptions that, oh, I need to be eating these foods. If I don't eat these foods, I'll never look like this, or if I don't eat these macros, or if I'm not on this meal plan. And that is a really, really dangerous way to live, and that's a very slippery slope, which is going to end in tears, because again, it really doesn't stand the test of time. It creates, again, possibly eating disorders, usually mild eating disorders, and a bad relationship towards food, towards your body image. And again, it's not teaching you anything in the long run, and you don't want to be in that category of people who are forever binging and cutting and constantly trying to jump on these different diet plans and these different meal plans. And I guess just a note about that is because the game changes is rife at the minute, and everyone is contacting myself and well, everyone's talking about it. Should I say, I've had a few people contacting me. I'm no expert in this field. I am merely communicating information which I've learned of people from much higher education than myself. However, I am doing more study on the daily, on the yearly, to become accredited in nutrition. So I can hold my own, quote unquote, at some point, and I guess have the pieces of paper to back it up. But in the meantime, I will use the credentials I've got and also my experience and that of peers and practitioners who are far more educated than myself. So we look at the game changers, and this is a great example. People are watching that. It's obviously a TV series or a movie. It's designed to get views. And now everyone's like, oh, plant-based is better. These foods are magic. Like, if we eat these foods, we're going to be, better. We're going to be superhuman. We're going to be leaner, faster, bigger, stronger. And it's simply not the case. I'm sorry to burst your bubble if you think that was true. And the reason being, this is not my opinion, this is the opinion of the literature we have. Now, until we have literature which suggests otherwise, there is no advantage to being plant-based. On the whole, people who eat meat, people who eat plants, again, let's consider all the caveats. We're all training, we're all healthy, we're all eating the right macros and calories. There is no advantage to eating plants. It's just that when you look at things in isolation and cherry pick them, most people who eat plant-based foods are probably more health conscious, so they're generally more healthy than someone who's eating a whole lot of plant-based animal products. For example, people in America, I'm not pointing Americans out, but again, fast food is very easily accessible, it's very cheap. You look at those highly processed foods, high sodium, high salt, high sugar, etc., very calorific. They're generally not going to be as healthy. So obviously having something like plants is not as hyperpalatable, meaning it doesn't taste as good, and it's a lot harder to overconsume. And again, it's not as calorically dense, but it is more nutrient dense, meaning it's got more of the vitamins and minerals in it. So generally, this is why the stigma comes with, oh, people who are plant-based are healthier. But there is no advantage to it. Now imagine then segregating and pigeonholing yourself and going, well, I'm plant-based and this is the best, or for example, I'm keto and I'm over here and this is the best, and then we've got the other crowd over here. It's like I'm low carb, and then you've got like the paleo people, and it's like, guys, can we all just stop measuring the dicks for a second? Because it's not about that. You can choose any diet you want, but it's more about just food in general. I'm not in any one of those silos, and I will not advocate myself as like, oh, I'm just this. I eat all the foods. I eat all the foods that I like, and I make sure each day that the calories add up to my goals and that the macronutrients are in alignment to my goals. And I've tracked for a long time now, so I don't really have to rigidly measure things. I have a bit of structure because it's easy for me, I'm busy, and then I ad-lib and I enjoy different foods, and I go out with friends, and that's all about lifestyle, and that's what I'm about, and that's what I'm really passionate about, teaching people of how you can maintain, a good physique all year round, and without compromising, your well-being, your mental sanity, your health, your social life, etc. And for those who are interested, I eat 3,500 calories a day. I'm no mean starving. I'm not super lean, even though it might appear that way. I've just built a respectable and a reasonable amount of muscle mass on my size. I understand energy balance. I understand progressive overload and how to train intelligently, and I'm still learning. However, all of those things, many more I've not mentioned, the training frequency, etc., and understanding how to manipulate body composition over time, and having good relationships with food and having balance, allow me to be able to maintain a physique like this quite easily, and again help other people to do so. But it does take some time and discipline, but anything above average is going to take above average discipline to get there. But people who say that it's not healthy to be shredded, fucking A, you're right, but this isn't shredded. And most people can walk around between 8 to 12% body fat when they understand the principles, and it may take some time without any compromise to sex drive, mental health, lifestyle, all of those things, unless you just want to be a complete pisshead, in which case you're never going to fucking look or feel good, right? Because that's just common sense. So it can be done. Don't silo yourself, don't segregate yourself, because again, this is what these rigid mindsets do. It's all back to this like binary approach, right? It's on, off. I'm on the meal plan, off the meal plan, I'm clean, I'm dirty, I'm this, I'm that, I'm paleo, I'm plant-based. It's like, no, let's understand the education behind it. Back on topic, rant over. It's my vlog, it's my YouTube channel, I do what I want. This is my house, okay? Someone to make my coffee, please! Anyway, so the next point I had is relationships and laziness. So I've talked about relationships with food again. Being on a rigid meal plan is not going to create good relationships with food, because what happens when you can't hit the meal plan? I'm off the meal plan, you go on a binge, or you feel guilty, or you start having these negative feelings, you beat yourself up. The self-talk and the self-sabotage is really bad, and that's really unhealthy. I think I've talked enough about relationships at this point for this, and laziness. I think a lot of people just, as a health professional and a coach, they want me to just give them a meal plan. Just give me how much for a training plan, bro? How much for a training plan? How much for, just want a bit of a meal plan, bro? Just want to get shredded. It fucking doesn't work like that. Like, literally. I can give you the best supercar in the world, the fastest car, but if you don't know how to drive it, it's useless. And people think that just because they have some numbers on a piece of paper and some exercises, that is it. My friends, the devil is in the details. It's not about just doing what you need to do, it's about how you do it. So when you're in the gym, when you're training, it's about how you train. That's a video for another time. I've talked about skill acquisition, go back and have a look at it. I got to do a lot more in depth on that. And for those of you who want to learn more, I'll touch base on this at the end about that. And then the laziness, right? Because they just want, just give me a meal, but just give me something to follow. And it's, again, that's going back to, yes, when that is appropriate, that is good. But if you are exchanging money with me and I'm just giving you a meal plan and you expect it to just do magically whatever you want it to do, then I'm not gonna back that. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, cool, like, here's $100 for a meal plan and you'll be sweet. Like, no, and I don't advertise meal plans. Again, they've got to be used in unison. That's why I don't sell them one-off. Special cases, I might do them for people who are more experienced. Then, I might sit down with them and give some education and structure. But One-off meal plans and one-off training plans, guys, don't work. So when you see a lot of these Instagram models or your favorite, people that you follow who look good, not all of them, but a lot of them, they'll sell these like one-off meal plans, like diet plans, or this training program, and this is it for 6 weeks. What a load of shit, all right? Don't buy into it, because what happens after that, or what happens if they don't have the tools within that program to teach you how to implement the meal plan, how to implement the foods, how to implement how to effectively complete the exercises, the acquisition, etc. It doesn't work without those things. It doesn't work without the details, the mechanistics, okay? So stop being fucking lazy if you just want a meal plan, and learn from good, valuable resources. And if you're here, you're in the right place. So education, this is the last one. So education equals freedom. So, at the end of the day, knowledge is power and wisdom is freedom. I talk about this a lot. And what I mean by that is, if you start to understand some basic principles of anything in life, whether it's relationships, whether it's careers, and I talk about this a lot, right? Whether it's getting a great physique, learning to play guitar, learning a language, if you understand the 20%, the fundamental principles, that's going to get you 80% of the way there. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, but you need to understand what the main things are that are going to contribute to your goals, and for you to be able to actually progress and continue to progress and achieve anything above average. So by just scratching the surface and always trying to find this magic pill, this silver bullet mentality, you're gonna get robbed, because there's people out there who are gonna constantly provide that for you, that carrot on the stick, that get rich quick, that, hey, this is the one thing that you need to do, this is the one thing to get shredded, right? Fucking bullshit. This is the one thing. It's everything in life, guys. It's multiple things done consistently over time, which equals success. It's never just one thing, okay? So keep that in mind when you're going forth. Keep that in mind if you're on a meal plan. Have an end goal, have some education, start to look at good research, get a good coach, read some great literature if you want. Is Mass Monthly Applications in Strength Sports if you're really serious. The guys over there do a fantastic job. Eric Helms, 3D Muscle Journey. There's loads of guys in the industry. I mean, you get onto a couple of them. You got Danny Lennon, Signa Nutrition. Again, I can keep rattling off names. Guys, go to my podcast, Raw Knowledge. I've interviewed a lot of these people, and I continue to do so. That's just a really easy place you can find them. And for those of you that are really, really interested in actually taking control and understanding, like, what do I need to know? The non-negotiables, like, if you jump out of a window in a 10-story building, you're gonna fall. Like, you can't argue with gravity. So what are the things that are non-negotiable within training and nutrition? I can teach you. All right, there's many practitioners who I've learned off. Again, there's some great people out there, but most people are out to make $1. If you're really serious, head over to my academy, Fearless Training United. Professional videos with myself, with other peers, practitioners. As always, I say this a lot, I'm gonna keep banging on about this. I've created a product I wish existed when I was younger, because I wasted time and money and chased dreams and rainbows for many years. I'm still lucky to be relatively young now at 28 and be able to achieve what I've achieved and now give back and help people. So I've created this academy specifically for this, for anyone, everywhere, anywhere around the world that wants to learn, take control of the way they want to look. They want to learn the principles forever so that they can go forth and do with it what they will. If you want to take it more seriously and take it to the next level and jump on stage, go for it. If you just want to look good all year round, fucking great. Whatever it is to you. But the bread and butter is everyone deserves their health. We all want to look good naked. We all want to feel better. We all want to look better. It goes full circle, right? So head over to Fearless Training United now. Jump into the academy. You can jump in and subscribe anytime. You can also cancel at any time as well. Ask me questions and queries. I'm gonna wrap it up, guys, because I think this is getting a bit long. So if you've liked the video, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more videos every week, comment below with what you want to see more. And as always, I'll be back next week with another video. And in the meantime, as always, stay fearless.